Alrighty, so this is project number 1 on the Garage Built channel. I am lucky enough to have a cousin by the name of Michael who runs a Facebook page / car club called Early Commodore Community. Michael approached me recently. He does have a very factory standard VC Commodore running a 202 manual, pretty dated and run down and tired. So Michael's approached me and said, let's do something that he can do, with his page and all the rest of it. Let's build a car. And he approached me and basically said, I want to do something with my car, something I can show on my page and interact more with his members, etc. He did come to me with the plan of putting in a Holden engine, maybe an LS1 or something of the sort, but with Garage Built Customs, I'm looking to do some Barra work and do some R&D on these engines, and obviously everyone knows the potential of them. There's many builds going on at the moment. So I've talked him into doing a Barra engine, turbo, BTR auto, a very tame and streetable package, but something that will make a decent amount of power and Michael can have fun in when he goes to his car shows and drags, etc. So as I said, VC Commodore, we've chased down a gas engine. Obviously the reason behind the gas engine, most people know, but I'll give you a quick rundown. The BF gas engine actually received the same conrods as the FG turbo engines because the likelihood of gas engines backfiring, they were bending rods, etc. So Ford made the decision to run with the thicker conrod, which resulted in the thicker conrod making its way into the later model Barra turbo engines. We do have a lot of parts. We're still waiting for a lot of parts to come. I do have a full gasket kit, so we're going to strip the engine down to basically just the block with the crank, pistons and rods left in there. We may do ring gaps, I'm not too sure yet. But yeah, basically we're going to start at that point there. Every gasket, every seal will be changed. We're doing some oil pump gears. We will do some valve springs, some head studs. That's about it for this stage. We'll see how we go. We will most likely be running the factory manifolds, but we may do some work with them. I am going to relocate the throttle body. We'll run the 4-speed BTR auto with a stall converter. We may do something with the auto, we may not. We'll see how we go, sort of stage 1. Yeah, so that's basically a short rundown of the build. I'm ready to get started. Michael's excited, I'm excited. Can't wait to share it with you guys. Let's do it. Alrighty guys, so this is the engine bay of the ECC VC. After today it'll look nothing like this. We're super keen to get into it, but yeah, like I said, we're just hoping to dummy fit the Barra today, maybe build a cross member for the auto and measure the tail shaft, etc. Just give you guys a quick look at the car again, because it won't look like this for much longer. If we can have a nice clean Barra sitting in here by the end of the day, I'll be a very happy man. Alrighty, I'll set this camera up, let's get stuck into it. Fred here from Garage Built. Back at it today on Mix VC Commodore with our Barra engine. Last week we managed to dummy fit the engine in, get all the old stuff out and get the engine dummy fitted. Today we're going to put the gearbox in, dummy fit that up, mount the cross member, measure the tail shaft, get everything finalised, take all the measurements we need so we can organise the parts and then pull it all back out and start prepping the engine bay. We're going to clean it all up, give it a coat of paint, engine, etc. Right, let's get into it. Alrighty guys, quick change of plans. Michael's just shot down to Repco to pick up a transmission mount. While he shoots down and grabs that, we'll have to put a little hold on putting the auto in. He'll be back shortly. So what I'm going to do is quickly rip out the power steering rack. We do have a manual rack out of a VL. I'm just going to pull that out and mock that up and see what we're going to need to make it fit. So apparently this is the power steering shaft out of the VC. I've got the manual VL rack in there for now, but the steering column doesn't match up. Obviously this is all power steering. The manual rack doesn't have all this sitting on top of it, but apparently you can pull this apart, modify the shaft to suit. So that's the plan at this stage. I'm going to pull this apart, get this shaft out, and just see if there's some way to make one rack out of two. Alright everyone, Michael was down at Repco grabbing a factory BA transmission mount. I was fiddling around with the power steering rack, as you would have seen. Michael's got back, we've bolted the factory mount to the transmission, and because we're trying to do this on a little bit of a budget, I'm trying to help Michael save some money, we didn't buy the Tough Mounts transmission mount. Probably should have, but we haven't. So we're just going to, what we're going to do here is, as you can see, the bolts do not line up with the holes, obviously. So what we're going to do, I'm going to cut a plate of steel, 4 or 5mm steel, drill the holes in this spot on, and I'm going to elongate the Tough Mounts mount, so then I can slide this over, stick my plate on this side and bolt it all together, and that way we should fix the problem and we'll be able to run the factory BA mount, which was $60–70 as opposed to a couple of hundred. So that's our plan at this stage. I'll cut some metal, get it all done, get this mounted up to the transmission, and then we'll be back on track. Yeah, what do you do with him? A bag of a for a shot? No. Alrighty guys, so I thought you've probably just watched a little bit of footage. I thought I'd explain exactly what I'm doing here. We put the manual VL power steering rack in the car, and what happens is...
It's got to be VH.
Oh, it's VH
rack, yeah.
Oh fuck, I said that's VL. Alright, I'll start again. Alrighty guys, you've just watched a whole heap of footage of me sort of cutting, welding and doing all this sort of stuff, so I thought I'd just stop for a second and explain exactly what I'm doing. We've installed a VH manual power steering rack in the car. What that does is, we've taken out the power steering rack, put the manual one in. This is the shaft that come out of the power steering rack. So we put that one in there like that, just quickly. That one in there like that, that sat on top like that. Now what most people do when they put a manual shaft in, is you get the manual intermediate shaft that goes between the manual rack and the actual steering knuckle. Very hard to get, expensive, haven't got time. So what we're going to do is, I've taken this out of the power steering rack, taken this whole shaft out, I've separated it, there's a pin at the top, I've cut it off there in the centre, that comes apart like that. This also has this inside, pop the pin out of the top here, hit that straight out the bottom. So now you got this, got a hollow shaft. So now what the plan is, this goes into the original knuckle on the VC Commodore. This side here, so you can see the hollow hole, The manual steering rack actually has a skinnier shaft than the original VC one. So what we're going to do is we're going to drill that out to a nice tight fit, slip that over the top of the manual over the manual rack, slip that over the top, weld around the bottom. Now we've converted the manual steering rack to this VC power steering shaft. Effectively, we bolt the rack straight in, no other modification, slip that into the knuckle, job done. You've now converted your car from power steering to manual steering, which the whole reason for doing this, I don't think I've said it yet, the whole reason for doing this is because when you've got the power steering rack in, it leaves very little room for the dump pipe off the back of the turbo. You'd be lucky to get 2 inch through if you were lucky. So the idea of doing this, much smaller diameter, we should be able to get roughly a 3.5 inch pipe through there. So yeah, that's the idea. Rather than get the intermediate shaft, steal that from your power steering rack, drill it out, slip it over the steering shaft, straight into the steering knuckle. Job done. Alright, let's make this happen. Sweet. Alright guys, so that's a wrap on today's episode, if you will. It's been a big day in the garage built shop. Things sort of went a little bit off the path from what we were planning on doing, but we did achieve a bucket load. The engine is now in its final place. The transmission is in its final place. We had to modify the transmission mount, even though we brought one. That is all sorted. The engine and transmission's in its final place. We managed to, Michael showed up with a manual steering rack, and we got that in. We got it modified. I do apologise for the poor explanation. I will show you guys next episode sort of what we got done once I get the final welding sorted. But the steering is now sorted. We extended that shaft. It operates. It's smooth. No notches. All good. Bonnet. We got the bonnet. We managed to get the engine under the bonnet. We do have to tweak the bonnet a little bit, just give it a little bit of a tack with the grinder, but we got it in. That was our big goal, to get it underneath the bonnet so it looks more like a sleeper. So we've achieved that. We've had a massive day. Everything's in its final spot. We can now get the tail shaft ordered. We're good. We're on the right track. Yeah, until the next episode, we will get the engine out next episode. Michael will start sorting out the engine bay, degreasing and getting ready for paint. I will start stripping down the engine. I will chase up the parts this week, and we'll keep going after it. Alrighty guys, until next time. See you later.